All right, welcome to round number 1. I have a reasonable hand here, so we will be keeping it. I'm going to lead on island and pass the turn. When we get priority here, opponent's still thinking on their 7. They did indeed keep. If they're Tron, for example, this Disrupting Shoal could really come in handy here rather than us utilizing this opt. Looks like they are not. Disrupting Shoaling, using Disrupting Shoal on an expedition map can be quite good. Definitely will just let this resolve. This is the matchup where we're not as excited about Disrupting Shoal. Not a great card early against the green-black X decks. It's in fact the one matchup where I have not been impressed with the card. I haven't sided this card out except in green-black X matchups thus far, and as I said before, have been generally very impressed with the card overall. I did not have high hopes for it, but it has certainly impressed me. I'm just going to play this tapped here. If my opponent has another Inquisition of Kozilek, I guess I'd still rather do it this way. Oh, Traverse. Alright, so I guess maybe we're playing against a Shadow list. It's my best guess from there. Which should potentially make this Disrupting Shoal a little bit better. I mean, it's a cancel for a 1-drop now, at least. And it also means we're being a little less grindy. Probably still not a card I want. But it's a lot less poor than against a traditional Jund deck where we really are just trying to grind each other out. So I would shoal pretty much anything here, I think. A Thoughtseize I would definitely shoal. Obviously they'd have to like cycle a Street Wraith for it to be a Shadow. An Inquisition, I guess we would probably shoal. Alright, well, if this is the play, I believe I want to pitch shoal, slam Jace. I have to be a little bit worried about my opponent having access to... I mean, we don't necessarily know that they're a Shadow list, for example. They could be like a Traverse traditional Jund list. Either way, they also likely have Bloodbraid Elf. I guess if I hold on to the shoal, I could counter the Elf. Obviously, they'd still get to Cascade. But using Disrupting Shoal to do that would be pretty rough. I think I'm supposed to just pitch the shoal, play Jace, and tick it up 1 turn. And then sort of try to untap with Cryptic / Bolt, I suppose. That kind of locks us into discarding whatever we draw here. Thing in the ice. Yeah, I think I'm still fine with just resolving this Jace. Fate Sealing my opponent. I think I do want to put that on the bottom here. Kind of weird. Sometimes you get into these spots where, like, Fate Sealing, it's possible I should just Fate Seal myself there. I obviously have a lot better idea what kind of card I'm looking for right now than generally what my opponent wants. There are some cards that they would hit where I would say, yeah, I definitely don't want them to have that. But there are others where it's a little less clear because we have no information about their hand. And something like Thoughtseize is somewhere in between where it's clear what kind of impact it will have on us. Take, for example, a land there. Maybe my opponent's sitting on like 1,000,000 Bloodbraid Elves and nothing to do. If we Fate Seal them and see a land, it's like, well, yeah, they could probably have that, but maybe that's just unlocking a bunch of Elves. It's just hard to say without knowledge of what our opponent's got going on. There's a Grim Flare without Delirium and a Tarmogoyf. Okay. So I think I'm going to Brainstorm here and then Cryptic tap. The problem is I very likely want to take the opportunity to bolt this when I get the when I can, before my opponent finds a way to generate Delirium. But if I Brainstorm and miss on land, I'm in a little bit of a pickle. There's always like minus both, and then I don't have to worry. I think that's not going to be great. Let's take the greedier line here. Alright, so we did miss on a land, but instead have found Thing in the Ice, which is super interesting. We already have Creature in the yard, so bolting my opponent's Grimflayer won't grow that. So I'm likely to put Jace and Cryptic back on top. Then I can play Thing in the Ice, bolt Grimflayer, discard Disrupting Shoal, let Tarmogoyf hit Jace down to 1. I think I like that. This will take up to 6. But I can either try to pressure it with Thing in the Ice or bolt it if I absolutely have to. I mean, I could also just play Thing in the Ice double bolt, but that definitely grows this and this. That seems pretty terrible. But I could also just draw another Liliana. I think we just do it this way. There's a lot of options this turn, though, for sure. But I could also just minus their Lily. But that would be good for us overall, I think. Getting to bolt the Lily to death and have first, obviously, have Tarmogoyf hit Jace and then bolt the Lily to death, I think would be great. But in a sense, they're pressured to do that. Yeah, they are going to minus. Hopefully they don't have like another Liliana, of course. That'd be worst case scenario, because then I'd have another Liliana I have to deal with. My Jace would die. And, yeah, that Tarmogoyf would obviously be larger, which is why the Jace would die. Yep, there it is. Oh, that's unfortunate. Alright, well, hopefully we can get them with Cryptic, but that's incredibly unlikely. There's always the, like, maybe they plus their Liliana. Excuse me. There's always the maybe they plus their Liliana with an empty hand. I would get them with Cryptic, but people are pretty wise about that most of the time. They'll usually play around it. If I'm casting a Cryptic next turn, I should fire off this bolt. Probably just supposed to hit my opponent. And then I just get to follow up with the Jace. So we're in a pretty good spot here, I think. Depending on what our opponent has drawn. But there's not really a lot that they can draw that's powerful here. Yeah, that's pretty good for us, I think. Now I get to bounce the Goyf. Bounce the Goyf and draw a card. I guess I just can't take the risk that they take up their Liliana anyway. So I'll just counter it and bounce the Goyf. Like, there's this part of me that's like, oh, there's no way they pitch their Goyf, but if they did, that would not be good for me. Like, I want this Jace. So I'll just use the other mode as gain 2 life, basically, instead of draw a card. And we'll set up here. So opponent's only card is the Tarmogoyf we just bounced. So I guess I just top these and play the land. Still are going to have to find a way to deal with Liliana. Oh man, they just draw Lightning Bolt, Tarfire. Okay. Definitely not Lightning Bolt here, but it does mean I can't minus my Jace. So hopefully we can find an answer. Logic not on top. I guess that means I'm supposed to opt first. Bottom this delta. Okay. So finding this cryptic was obviously quite good. I just don't know how I want to stack this here. Need to be prepared to discard a card. I think Delta thing. Yeah. Opponent's going to go to begin combat. Tap bounce Lily just to buy me some more time against it. Tap draw doesn't really change much. Bounce doesn't change much. I mean, getting myself a card deeper matters, but... yeah, bouncing that Lily doesn't matter. I mean, it kind of does since it's getting close to alt. This is such an awkward spot. Just playing this weird game where I can't actually ever deal with this stupid Tarmogoyf. Just bouncing it and tapping it forever. That Tarfire was an interesting draw, like making me not able to minus this Jace. Maybe this thing in the ice is like way worse than I'm thinking. No, I think it's actually okay because I need to sort of pressure this Liliana's loyalty in different ways. Another Jace. All right. I mean, I probably just play both of these things minus. And like they have the Liliana -6 option. I guess I can just make them kill my thing in the ice, kill Jace. Like, that seems like a pretty good line from their side of the table, right? Minus Lily, attack Jace. And if that's their line, I want to be able to follow up with additional Jace. By the way, it definitely seems like opponent is on a traverse list, but I don't know, they've got to be playing Shadow, right? We haven't talked about that in a little while. They are on Wooded Foothills and the Basic Forest. So if they're on Shadow, it's like a much older list, or older style of list. Okay, interesting. So they are going to just alt their Liliana. I wonder if that means they've drawn another. So we definitely sacrifice these, keep the lands, and have a new Jace. I think opponent probably could have killed like one additional land there. Street Wraith. Yeah, that's actually really, really bad for me. So I think I just need to be able to punk my opponent out with Snapcaster here. Probably just means I Jace Brainstorm. Another land is not helpful here. Man, that was a bummer. Whoa! Alright, we're officially sad. That stinks. It's gonna be tough now. Opponent gets to wallop me for 6, kill my Jace. Then they just have lethal next turn. Ooh, we're sending both the Jace. Maybe they drew another threat to still have lethal next turn. No. They just wanted to make sure Jace dies. I can respect that, but it is good for us here since we had stone nothing. Alright, let's try again to find snaps and bolts. 4 mana Brainstorm. Let's go. Alright. If opponent doesn't have anything and ships both, we're in business, but that's a lot to ask for them to not have anything here. Still, these we did find a snap, but these brainstorms have been a little rough. At least we've been able to complete them with fetch lands. If those had just been non-fetch lands, that would be obviously quite a bit worse since we'd just be locked. But opponent sends both at Jace. Jace dies. All right, time to cross our fingers. Oh man, we stole that one. I feel like obviously completing those completing those brainstorms helped, but that's tough. All right, so in a grindy matchup like this, we probably just want P and Ks. I feel like I'm still supposed to assume my opponent has Death Shadow and isn't just like a Traverse Jund deck. From the cards we saw, certainly they could be either, but it definitely just seems like a shadow draw where they just didn't hit any shadows. It doesn't change how we want to sideboard a whole lot, but it does change it a little. Like something like Keranos changes in value quite a bit. Something like Blood Moon does a bit as well. But third Blood Moon is definitely something we can consider. Definitely, like I said, want Entrancing Melody. This is like the one matchup where we're particularly excited about it. And I do like P and Ks quite a bit, though they don't match up well against Battle Rage. They match up well without Battle Rage being involved, which our opponent might side out in a controlling matchup. So there's some appeal in that regard. I don't really like Remands. I do like Clicks quite a bit. The Jaces seem reasonable. I do like the Disrupting Shoals. Most of their things are going to be easy to counter. I'm not sold on Logic Knots. Third Cryptic is a little bit clunky. It could probably be cut. So that puts me on these. I think I like Thing in the Ice. It's pretty easy for my opponent to interact with, and going to be kind of difficult to flip, but definitely can close the game out really quickly. I think I prefer that over just additional counter magic. So this opens up those 4 slots for stuff like these. This might be a little bit too grindy, where I'm just going to need like more answers early, but I think I'm willing to try something like this. Not having like some actual counter magic could be a mistake, because I'm going to need to be able to deal with stuff like Goyfs, for example, other than just Jace minus cryptic taps, stuff like that. Obviously, we have the Entrancing Melody, but it's pretty hard to ship a hand like this, especially against such a discard-intensive deck. I mean, our opponent has what we imagine are 8 one-mana discard spells. So mulliganing against them, if we can avoid it, is typically going to be ideal. So hands that are keepable, I'm going to keep at a higher rate against an 8 discard spell deck than I would otherwise. I don't want to, I guess what I'm saying is I don't really want to aggressively mulligan in this matchup. Opponent Thoughtseizes our Jace. Did they bobble us with that bobble? They did. So they saw our Disrupting Shoal. Not really one we want our opponent to see, but alright. Found a red source and another P&K. Don't want that. Pretty okay with this opt. I think I definitely have time to well, I shouldn't say definitely. It could just be a Tarmogoyf starting to hit us pretty hard here, but I have the mana to spare next turn, unless I was going to be opting into other 1-mana cantrips like other opts, or if I opted in my main phase and hit Serum Visions, which I don't think I would opt on my main phase anyway, so not in this spot, at least. So I like topping that up there. I mean, I could get like kind of aggressive bottom at hope to do something else with my 2 mana, like Thing in the Ice, for example, or 2 mana counter spells. But you gotta remember, of course, that we sided out a bunch of our 2 mana counter spells. Traverse without Delirium. This feels like a bait for Disrupting Shoal. But if our opponent, it's possible that our opponent really does need this to resolve to actually play a land this turn. But they might just have like Fetch Shock Death Shadow and be trying to bait this out. I think I'm gonna let this resolve. So unfortunate that they know about Disrupting Shoal from that bobble. Inquisition of Kozilek. So they get it anyway. I definitely let this resolve. So they do take our Disrupting Shoal. So maybe we should have... It's really hard to say. Maybe that Traverse was a counter, but without information, without knowledge of our opponent's hand, it's kind of just a soul read. Just trying to figure out if they have it or not. Obviously, they target us with that bobble. 3rd bobble of the game. So they do get to know what's on top. Huge Tarmogoyf coming into play here. I guess we cast these in response in case we found like Disrupting Shoal 2-drop. Snapcaster is okay here. It's got to be better than the average draw since it gives us something to do next turn. Definitely bottom non-blue source, excuse me, non-red source. So they know about our Snapcaster since we opted that into our hand. Opponent sails a Street Wraith. Tarmogoyf gets even larger. Just missing enchantment. We have some good ones in our hand. I highly doubt our opponent takes opt, and if they do, I think that's still a win, so don't really see the incentive of opting now. But yeah, we're just missing tribal and enchantment for that Goyf to be larger. It's hitting pretty hard here. And our opponent could find tribal eventually. Another Thoughtseize. Again, I think P&K is pretty great here, so yeah, that turn did not go well for us. Opt into Jace the Mind Sculptor, though, would be a pretty solid play. Or just opt into a million cantrips. Opt into opt into opt. Of course, we only have 2 ops left, but Serum Visions will do the job. Mountain we do not want. Keranos. I mean, it's not that I don't like Keranos, but this is not the time. Getting walloped by a massive Goyf right now. Cryptic Command would have been kind of sweet there. But yeah, things look bad. Keranos doesn't obviously trigger our Thing in the Ice, which is sort of all we really wanted to do here. Yeah, there's the Shadow. And our guy dies. And we drew Disrupting Shoal. Which I did not end up siding out, by the way. Obviously. I think there's nothing I can do here. Yeah, just dead. I think it's a lot better against Shadow. I actually didn't go into this sideboarding, I realized, but I think Shoal is a lot better against Shadow than it is against traditional John decks, but they still do have a lot of discards, so it doesn't quite hold up. The problem is that they're also coming out of the gates much faster, much more aggressive. Maybe that means I want some number of Shoal, but not all of them. And I also think it changes a little bit on the play-draw distinction. On the draw, it helps me a little bit more than, say, like Remand or Lodging Knot. Those cards on the draw, on average, against the discard deck are also going to be quite poor. But on the play, it's possible. Like, maybe I want to cut a couple of these and have Logic Knots in their place, since I'm still going to be able to cast them a little bit reliably. But again, through all the discard, it's not likely to matter a ton. Obviously, the moons get better here as well. I don't know. Keranos was really bad there, but I think it was just a bad spot for Keranos. I don't think that doesn't mean I don't want it at all, but it is very, very slow in a matchup where I'm mostly afraid of getting punked out early. Again, if I can get away with not mulliganing this matchup, I would like to. There's a lot of risk to keeping this hand, but we have a lot of cards I'm happy about seeing. Thing in the Ice, Trancing Melody, Jace. A little less excited about Redundant 4 and a 5. So it's kind of tough to keep this hand in our relatively landlight deck. Obviously, Serum Visions can go a long way, but even if I hit like 2 lands, I think there's just too much risk here. Yuck. Yeah, I can't keep this one. This is much, much worse. Sure. Not exactly. Definitely can't top a Disrupting Shoal when I'm on 5 here. We'll be glad we sided out a couple of those, but unfortunate. Opponent targets themselves with Bobble this time. Decide if they want to keep that one, I'm sure. Man, I'm sad. I feel like this is kind of an interesting matchup that I wanted a little bit more testing out of it. It might be tough from us. Might be tough for us rather from here, but we can still potentially steal a game. There's always Blood Moon. Another basic island hurts. Need spells. I will Logic Knot a discard spell. I do lose the card, the Scalding Tarn, out of my graveyard. But I think information is valuable. Obviously, if I actually probably still do it even if my opponent plays a land first, just to make them spend all their mana. Yeah, if they discard spell me here, I think I still do it. Oh, wow, that's great for me. Snapcaster. Not the best. But it does have the Godless Shrines, so maybe sided in some Lingering Souls. They might have more, like Ranger of Eos, for example, but Lingering Souls certainly the most expected out of those, which is bad for us. Lingering Souls obviously pretty difficult to deal with. Electrolyze being the cleanest answer, and we have opted not to play those. Thing in the Ice being the cleanest answer for us. All right, Ambush Viper it is. Not great. Entrancing Melody off the top. That's what we're going to hit, though. Or Jace. I also would accept Cryptic Command. Any of those. Yeah, any of those is fine. I want Entrancing Melody so bad. Even though we wouldn't get to keep the Shadow, I still think it would be sweet. Actually, Lightning Bolt now from here is sweet. All right. I'll bash. You can get me with Battle Rage, sorta. I think this draw makes me want to attack. Could also just eat my guy with Street Wraith, but whatever. Not really playing around Street Wraith most games. P&K definitely makes the game a little awkward for my opponent. Obviously, they have a million cards, so they'll probably find a way through it, but that was definitely a great draw for us. Sort of gives us a window to actually win this game. I wonder if our opponent's playing Bloodbraid. We saw Grim Flare, so probably not. I honestly think I do not block here. 2, 4, 6. I mean, opponent can't pay another life, or I have lethal. Obviously, they can have blockers, but Battle Rage. This feels like a game that we're going to potentially win if our opponent doesn't have Battle Rage, and almost certainly lose if they do. In their hand, that is. Brutality. Gaining life. Not a common play with Death Shadow, but they also pitched Souls. Alright, well, at least this was an excellent draw, obviously. At least we have these to protect our Jace. We have to decide how we want to utilize this Jace. I do not think I'm going to minus on the Death Shadow. Because of how many blockers I have. Again, Battle Rage, it's a consideration, but post-board, I think I'm going to play around that card a lot less. I definitely want to hide this Cryptic, and I do want to play my land. So, what would I be more sad about losing? Snapcaster, I suppose. So we'll do it this way. Maybe I should have attacked. No, there's no way. They probably would have taken the damage. I'm surprised they drained. I guess they just wanted to also cast Lingering Souls there, but I'm surprised they drained if they were able to kill the P&K. I can respect feeling under pressure while we had the P&K and wanting to drain, but the fact that the Brutality was killing the P&K makes the drain seem a lot less good. But I suppose they just wanted a really mana efficient turn, and that was the best way for them to pitch the Spirits. All right. I could like quad block this. Okay, so we have Snapcaster Cryptic. Like super tempted to quad block the Death Shadow. We have to be pretty crazy to make that line, I think, especially with Cryptic on top. I think we just block everything and then have like minus Cryptic as a line. For some reason now, I'm always paranoid about Brainstorm on Moto that I ordered them incorrectly. Then I'm going to draw a Snapcaster. Ugh, Maelstrom Pulse. Yuck. So we have Snap under this. So I guess I take the damage. Hope my opponent has nothing else. Get to bounce Death Shadow in their end step, draw a card, hope we hit the land into Snap Cryptic, the Death Shadow on the way back down. I guess Snap Lodgingnaut's also available, so we don't have to hit the land, but we do need to wait until end step to Cryptic bounce. If they do have something, hopefully it spends all of their mana, like a Ranger of Eos. Inquisition of Kozilek is fine. That does not interact with this Cryptic command. All right, sweet. Got through this turn unscathed. So we're going to draw the Snapcaster. Bounce that. They have like Kolagon's command. It's a little worse to play the land, but it's the difference between being able to snap Cryptic Command and snap the Logic Knot, so I'm definitely going to play that. All right. So opponent does go on lead on that Death Shadow. So we will play our snap, cast Cryptic Command. And they have 2 mystery cards in their hand. Counter draw. All right, Island's not great, and they do have another threat. Oh no. Thing in the ice, pretty awkward from here. I really don't want this Grimflayer to hit me, but I don't think I can just bin a thing in the ice. I think I have to let it hit me, unfortunately. That would cause us to be dead to Battle Rage, but I mean, we're obviously in an atrocious spot if they have Battle Rage anyway, so I don't think that's a realistic thing to play around here. We are, gosh darn it. We are putting up a good fight for having Mold to 5, but a lot of threats in my opponent's draw steps here, though we did have some insane draw steps in the mid-game. Opponent wisely, by the way, traverses main phase 1 so that their Grimflayer hit is more meaningful. So well sequenced by them. Kind of an easy mistake to make is to just go to combat to see what happens first, but assuming we take the damage, that ends up being worse for them. But it does look a little weird since it gives us some information up front. But in this case, it did not change my play. All right, time to get really crazy lucky and hit a string of cantrips. Oh, geez, that's insane. Yeah, opponent is just drawing mono threats here. Unfortunate. Both teams fought hard, but flooding out after mulling to 5 is rough. Oh well. Guess we'll just take the damage. All right, that's it for round number 1. Thought-Knot's here. Nice try, Moto. It's Grimflayer. That's it for round number 1, and I'll see you in just a moment for the second round.